It happened again. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett again sticks her finger in the eye of the MAGA world. Check this video out of her reaction to Donald Trump walking by her on the floor of the House after Trump's State of the Union speech. Yeah, let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, aka the Florida Lawman, here on the MeidasTouch Network. I've been saying this for a while, and the comments have been uneven, where a lot of people are saying they don't trust her, they'll never trust her, and they talk about how she voted with the majority, the conservatives, to overturn Roe versus Wade, and indeed she did. In the Dobbs opinion, Amy Coney Barrett went all the way and voted not only to rule for Dobbs, but also to overturn Roe versus Wade entirely. And that was something that even Chief Justice Roberts wouldn't do. Chief Justice Roberts voted with the progressives on the court in a 5-4 opinion to keep Roe versus Wade, understanding how overturning Roe versus Wade would have a seismic shift and it would delegitimize the Supreme Court. After all, the Supreme Court justices said that Roe versus Wade was settled law, right? And if you want to criticize Amy Coney Barrett for that, fair enough. Fair game, because that was, I think, her low moment on the court. But since then, she's been doing a bunch of things that have irritated MAGA, that have shown her independence from Donald Trump, the person who appointed her to the bench. And that video on the floor of the House after Donald Trump gave his State of the Union speech was gone viral. I mean, that has been inspiring to a lot of people and is stuck in the craw to MAGA, especially after Donald Trump went by and gave the Chief Justice sort of a pat and saying how happy he was with the immunity decision. Here's what he did here.
Thank you again. Thank you again. Don't forget. So good.
Yeah, that's inappropriate. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to thank the justices. You're not supposed to look like you're on the same team. Totally inappropriate. And so you can see the difference. Now, the two swing justices on this court in a 6-3 conservative majority are now the Chief Justice, John Roberts, and Amy Coney Barrett, who continues to rule against the MAGA world. The MAGA world is paying attention. I mean, remember, it was Amy Coney Barrett who also ruled against the worst parts of the presidential immunity decision. She said that the court went too far, where you can't even use official act evidence to prove unofficial crimes. She's like, that's too far. And the other conservatives on the court, including Chief Justice Roberts, criticized her in the majority opinion. But there have been other opinions too, where Coney Barrett has ruled against the MAGA world, and the MAGA world has now turned against her. Well, it's been actually happening for a while. But according to NBC News, the anger from Davis, and that's Mike Davis, who is a right-wing MAGA lawyer and online and TV commentator, the anger from Davis and other right-wing personalities with large online followings stems mostly from a couple of recent high-profile 5-4 decisions in which Barrett has been the deciding vote against Trump's side. Swift and vicious reviews poured in from right-wing Trump allied figures this week when Barrett and other justices rejected a Trump administration attempt to avoid paying U.S. Agency for International Development contractors as ordered to by a federal judge. So she ruled with Chief Justice Roberts and the progressives on the court in a 5-4 ruling that countered Trump's attempt to stop USAID from paying what they're already supposed to pay under the law. They were already contracted and obligated to pay, and the Trump administration said, no, we're stopping the whole thing. Well, 5-4 decision that said, no, you got to keep paying. And so now you have people like Laura Loomer on the far right saying, Coney Barrett was a DEI appointee because she was appointed as a woman to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's no Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she is showing her independence from the person who appointed her, and that is something to be applauded. And I know in the comments they'll say, not enough, not good enough, but remember, this is a Donald Trump appointed justice. You could have gotten Neil Gorsuch, another Trump appointed justice, who's just far right and just seems to be with Trump on everything. There is also Kavanaugh, you know about Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. And I would submit of the three that Trump appointed, there's no question who the best of the three is. All right. So NBC News also reported that you have people criticizing that video that we just showed you after the State of the Union speech. Look at how Justice Amy Coney Barrett looks at our duly elected president, the man who put her on the Supreme Court. She looks very bitter. Rogan O'Hanley, an influential MAGA figure on X, known by his handle DC Drano, wrote in a post containing a video of the encounter. One law professor, Josh Blackman at South Texas College of Law of Houston, suggests that Barrett should step down from her lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court so that Trump can pick a replacement. Doesn't work like that. Lifetime appointment means lifetime appointment. So she's got a lot more years ahead. And that is the repercussion. That is the problem when you appoint someone relatively young. See, it was the intent of Trump to appoint a revolutionary, someone seen as very Catholic, going to be very hardcore on religious issues, especially on abortion. And they're going to put her on the court, and she will be there for 40 years. She is in her early 50s, and she's going to be there a long time. You see, when Barack Obama appointed Merrick Garland to the court, he was already in his 60s, but Republicans like him younger so they can be on the court for a longer period of time. But it also works in the opposite. When that person shows her independence, you can't get them off the court so easily. And she's not stepping down. Why would you give up a lifetime job where everyone has to stand when you enter a room and you get to wear the cool black robes? Come on. And I mean, she's 53 years old. She's got a lot more to go. In fact, when she was appointed, it would have been in her late 40s. So that's what the Republicans do. And sometimes it bites them in the behind. And it's not just Barrett's vote in the USAID decision or the immunity decision. It's also that just in January of this year, again, in a 5-4 decision, the court rejected Trump's request to block a sentencing hearing in his criminal hush money case in New York. Remember that? He went up to the Supreme Court to stop the sentencing in his case, and the Supreme Court said, no, it's got to continue. Well, where do you think Amy Coney Barrett was on that? She was with Chief Justice Roberts in a 5-4 decision with the liberals on the court, and that really pissed off the MAGA world as well. So this is continuing, and a previous video, which I urge you to watch, that I made for MeidasTouch Network, I talked about all these other decisions, substantive decisions, where she keeps ruling against the conservative position. In fact, she and Clarence Thomas have had quite a battle on the court where she has taken him on. I mean, on domestic violence, gun issues. I mean, she has been really strident in saying, you have no idea what you're talking about, Justice Thomas. And you got to like that. I'm here for that. I mean, it's not the first time a conservative president has tried to appoint a conservative to the Supreme Court, only to find that the justice acted independently. I mean, who do you think wrote the majority opinion in Roe versus Wade back in 1973? It was Justice Harry Blackmun, appointed by Richard Nixon. So this is pretty common. I mean, George Bush, the first one, George Herbert Walker Bush, appointed this unknown conservative justice from New Hampshire upon the urging of John Sununu, his chief of staff, and that was David Souter, who became one of the most liberal members of the court in modern memory. So this is it's kind of a theme, and it usually happens in the way where it's conservative justices becoming more progressive over time. Maybe they become adherents to MeidasTouch. Maybe there's something about the Midas Mighty that influences them. I don't know what it is, but I think that this is a positive sign here, because if you think the Supreme Court will be lost for generations, well, if Amy Coney Barrett stays on, I think she could continue to surprise people. Chief Justice Roberts is a swing justice. I know he's disappointed us on a lot of things, like the immunity decision, for example. He wrote that decision. But he understands that the public doesn't have much faith in this court anymore. There are not a lot of good feelings on either side towards the Supreme Court, especially after Roe versus Wade gets overturned. 50 years of precedent, and justices said that it was set a law. And then the immunity decision, which went farther than anyone anticipated, really, giving Trump huge immunity for, and also delaying his trial so that he wouldn't be put on trial before the election. I mean, you can see why a lot of people are down on the court. But I'm an optimist, and I think that there is hope that we get through these 4 years, and then we could hopefully change the court. But at least it looks like it's not an automatic right-wing court on all the issues. And if something gets to the Supreme Court involving Donald Trump, well, I don't think that Trump's going to be able to count on Amy Coney Barrett. So that's the latest. I'm Dave Aronberg, aka the Florida Lawman. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and share with a friend. Also, check out our sister channel, Court Authorities, where I do a lot of videos on the intersection of law, politics, and true crime. We're talking about Luigi over there. We're talking about Diddy, talking about the Brian Kohberger case. You know, that's the alleged quadruple murder at the University of Idaho. And we're also talking about Andrew Tate, those despicable brothers who made their way to Florida. Why does everything happen in Florida? Only to be chased out of Florida. Yeah, so check me out over there, and I'll see you here next time.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.